had to pay the price. I saw in you what life was missing. You lit a flame that consumed my hate. I'm now one for reminiscing, but I traded all for your sweet embrace. 'Cause we lost everything. We had to pay the price. There's a canvas with two faces of fallen angels who loved and lost. It was a passion for the ages, but in the end, guess we paid the cost. I think of beauty, I know, will never fade away. What you did to me, I know. Said what you had to say, but I think of beauty will never fade away. Will never fade away. I see your eyes, I know you see me. You're like a ghost, you're everywhere. I'm your demon, never leaving. I'm made of soul, of rage and fear. That one thing that changed it all. That one thing that caused the fall. A thing of beauty, I know, will never fade away. What you did to me, I know. So what you had to say, but I think of beauty, I know, will never fade away. And I'll do my duty, I know. Somehow I'll find a way, but I think of beauty will never fade away. And I'll do my duty will never fade away. Will never fade away. Will never fade away. Good morning, night city, a day in the life. I
she satisfies. Leather jacket, zipped up tight. And no big ones coming, look for lost and found. Iron gleams bright in night city, where your appetite waits you out your sunrise. She pulls my trigger, got me up alright. It's a danger pretty here in night city. Here in night city, got me up alright. Here in night city. The way you chase and tease me, get me up so high. We're on the rooftop and you don't compromise. Too many hollow, empty bodies lying around my street don't testify. You got to whisper now on your arm, and so we keep on moving. Gotta take it slow, no. She pulls my trigger, got me up alright. It's a danger pretty here in our city. She pulls my trigger, got me up alright. It's a danger pretty here in our city. Here in our city, got me up alright. Here in our city. She pulls my trigger, got me up alright. It's a danger pretty here in our city.
All right. Hopefully everybody liked that intro. Oh, thank you, Brody. Much appreciated. So, for tonight, we have a special edition with Paradox, telling, if I get my sound right, telling, kind of bringing out some of her backstory and, a little bit of the history behind this character, which I'm really excited to share with everybody. Long time in the making, so sorry about that. You want to introduce yourself real quick, Paradox? And
yeah, so I'm Chloe. I play Paradox, and tonight you'll get to see a reason why she's so crazy.
See a little bit of that history behind her. Okay, so without any old man Garrus. Absolutely. This is one of my favorite parts of doing this. Just to take a moment here. This is one of my favorite parts of doing this stream series for the BOR is these solo adventures and being able to really kind of dive into the characters and the life path system that comes with Cyberpunk. And really being able to tell that story and give people an idea of how these characters got to where they are now. If you haven't checked out the system, please do, because it's that whole life path system. I know there's a couple other systems out there that have life pathing, but it really is awesome, and it gives you so many great adventure hooks and ways to really add depth to characters and the story itself. So, that said, let's kind of roll into this. So, where we start with this is it's probably been a couple of months ago now, but the first time that Paradox experienced this change, if you will. You were at a gas station, old gas station, out in the Badlands. The team was there. You had Raiden, you had Scotty, you had Ring, all there with you. And a Militech convoy had pulled in by you. Raiden had been pumping gas in the vehicle that you had, and unexpectedly everything went to shit. And you ended up getting into a fight with these Militech guys. You had gotten orders that there was someone in the vehicle, in one of the Militech vehicles, that you had a bill of attainder on, a target to take out. Through the course of the fight, your vehicle got blown up, and you ended up on, basically still strapped into your seat. The vehicle had been completely flipped over, on fire. You seen that Raiden was basically doing his thing, trying to get out of the vehicle and take down enemies. When you look down, you see that your ankle's completely shattered. Blood, bones sticking out. And then everything goes black. It seems like an eternity. Everything is dark. Then through the distance you hear a voice, a soft voice. It takes you a moment to realize where that voice is. Whose voice is this? It's your mother. The soft voice of your mom. Nix, wake up, honey.
Paradox kind of sits up in the bed and stretches and rubs her eyes and looks up at her mother.
You're 4 years old. This is home. You're back at the Nomad camp, the place where you had spent your entire life up to this point. It's a beautiful place, very peaceful. Your people had built a literal utopia. It's primarily a female nomad pack, but they were pretty self-reliant. They had their own water, grew their own food, produced their own power. have been doing very well for themselves. Your mother smiles at you. Glad to see you're awake, sleepyhead.
Paradox just yawns and crawls into her mother's lap.
I found something for you today.
She says, "What? What'd you bring me?"
It's a special surprise. I don't know. Do you think that you deserve a special surprise?
She kind of scrunches up her nose and she says, yeah.
Her mother reaches into a pack that she has laid down on the floor there. She pulls out these sheets. It's like standard-sized pieces of paper, which is probably a little odd for Nyx at that point. And she starts kind of thumbing through them. We got one arm around Nyx as Nyx is kind of sitting in her lap, and she's kind of thumbing through them. And they're filled with bright colors and little pictures on them. Little, what looks like rainbows and a smiley faces and little bears. What do you think?
Paradox runs her little fingers along the pages and feels that they feel very much different from paper, and she says, "Is it a book? What is it?"
No, silly. These are called stickers. And she just then peels one of the little pictures off of the paper. Lifts it up and kind of shows it to you. And then sticks it on your forehead really quickly.
Paradox lets out a giggle, and she seems very amused by this and doesn't quite understand how it works. But, you know, as a little kid, you think everything's a little bit magical. And she takes the sticker off of her own forehead and sticks it on her mom's forehead.
Oh, geez. Okay. These aren't for me, though. These are for you. Don't take them all off the paper all at once. Just put them on things that are really important to you. Like I did.
She says, well, I just did the same thing. I put a sticker on you too.
She chuckles a little bit, kind of lifts Paradox off of her, sets her on her feet, and goes to stand up. So, should we have some breakfast?
Yes, pancakes.
Pancakes. Okay. Well, are you going to make them?
She kind of scrunches up her nose again and she says, "I'm too little, but I'll help."
As the two of you are getting ready to walk out of your tent, you hear an odd sound, kind of off in the distance. You hear gunshots and some revving engines. Mom actually kind of pulls back. She puts her hand for you to hold on a minute. Kind of pulls back the flap of the tent and looks out.
Paradox is not used to the sound of gunshots, but the revving engines she's very used to. But she kind of looks up at her mother and looks very confused and says, "Are there fireworks happening? What's happening out there?"
Shh. Just then you hear some screaming. You hear the gunshots getting closer, like they're in the camp now. She kind of pushes the flap back. Like the gunshots are in the camp now. She kind of pushes the flap back. And she kneels down in front of you. Do you remember? Do you remember what I told you? Where's your safe place?
She says, in the cantina, in the cabinet.
In the cabinet. Okay, I need you to go there. I need you to go there right now and stay there and be very quiet, no matter what you hear. I will come and get you when it's safe.
Paradox kind of freezes for a moment as she hears these words and kind of remembers all the drills and the lessons that she learned about this, and she kind of lets out a weak nod and then puts her shoes on to start running out of the tent.
Okay. And her mother grabs the stickers and puts them into her hand. Take these with you. Go. Go.
All right. And with that command, Paradox takes off towards the big metal cantina where everybody has their meals.
As you go through the camp, it is literally chaos. There's people running everywhere. There's gunshots. There's a couple of people that you know laying on the ground, not moving. You resist the urge to want to stop and make sure they're okay, and you run to the cantina. And shutting the door to the cantina behind you, it's surreal for a moment because everything seems quiet for just a second. And then all the noises from outside start rushing back in. The gunshots, the screaming. You smell smoke.
With that, she runs to the back of the cantina where the kitchen is and finds a metal cabinet that they had set up there and maneuvers her way into it and closes it, and there's a little lock on the inside and she locks it, and it's very dark and she's just clutching the stickers and is shaking in fear.
There's a moment of clarity that comes over you. This is odd. This feels wrong. There's something wrong. It's really cold. Why is it really cold? You remember thinking to yourself, stuck inside this box. You're out in the Badlands. It should be hot, not cold. And then the door opens. You find yourself in a cage. There's men, strange men, all around. In other cages with other people, children, young girls, all in these cages. And the one next to you happens to notice that you're sobbing. You can feel the tears running down your face. She kind of comes up to the bars. Are you all right? Shh. Don't cry.
Paradox takes a few deep breaths, trying to calm herself. The hiccups come as you when you're sobbing and you try and take a deep breath, your breath kind of catches in your chest. But she's still trying to do this, and she looks up and recognizes the face of her friend Hera, an older girl.
Hera gives her a smile. There. That's the Nyx I know. Are you okay? Did they hurt you?
She shakes her head and kind of just says no, but it kind of hurt when they tore me out of the cabinet.
Yeah, I bet. Don't you worry, Nyx. I'm not going to let them hurt you.
She kind of nods, and tears are still streaming down her face, but she kind of just scooches closer to Hera and kind of leans her head against her shoulder and just sits there and feels a small bit of comfort as everything has kind of gone to shit, so to say.
That day passes. It's pretty quiet. These men occasionally come and take someone out of these cages. It's not a pretty scene. The next morning, they come to your cage. 2 of them. And they're looking between you and Hera's cage. The one man's like, "Let's take this one," pointing at your cage. "She looks like she'd be fun."
Paradox kind of freaks out at that notion, not really understanding what they mean, and kind of crawls to the back of the cage and tries to cower in the corner.
And Hera freaks out at this point. She's at the bars. She's like, "Don't you touch her, you son of a bitch." And the other man looks over at Hera and he's like, "Nah, we'll take this one. She has fire in her stomach. We'll take her." And they open up Hera's cage, and Hera lunges out at them. But it's futile. She's small compared to these men. And they drag her away.
Nyx quickly runs to the bars to see what's happened to Hera and sort of reaches her arm through to try and grab at her.
Hera reaches, but doesn't quite catch your hand, doesn't quite have enough to reach you. She looks into your eyes. She says, "Don't let the bastards get you down."
Paradox starts sobbing again and just nods and then just repeats, "Don't let the bastards get you down."
"Don't let the bastards get you down." As they pull her away, they kind of round the corner. You don't really see what's going on. You know that she's struggling. She's fighting against them. And you hear a loud crack, like someone just struck someone else. And you hear some whimpering. The next thing, you find yourself in a different kind of cage. It's odd. It feels really surreal to you as you're looking around you. And that whole scene is gone. And you see 2 young men and another young female. You don't recognize any of them. You've never seen these people in your life, and you kind of look at yourself. You're bigger. You're not 4 anymore. You're a young woman now. Probably 15, 14, 15. And you realize, the realization comes to you. You have to fight. You have to win. You can't let these people beat you.
As she's looking down at herself and is slightly confused by the situation, she touches a little piece of paper that she's pinned to her shirt, a little rainbow. And she looks up and she takes a stance as if she's gearing up to fight these 3.
The 4 children, including yourself, this ring is probably 30 feet. From side to side, circular. You kind of circle around each other. You remember this has been part of the training. Training for what? You're really not sure. You don't really remember what the training has been. The 2 boys seem to be trying to flank you, trying to circle in on you.
And being inexperienced as Paradox is, she kind of backs away from them as they're flanking her and trying to circle her. And she ends up with her back against this stone wall. And it's a natural stone wall, as if it's like part of the Badlands.
Yeah, these two boys look hungry. They're coming for you. They close in on you, both of them. Trying to confuse you a little bit, get you to turn one way or the other.
Paradox starts to panic as she tries to grab onto the wall to try and find any loose rock or anything that she can get a hold of to try and defend herself with.
As in your panic grasp, you find purchase on a rock. It's a little loose in that wall.
And she tugs and she raises it as if to show like a threat to these boys to back up.
One of them does start to back up a little bit, kind of heads to your right. It's like, oh, kind of heads over to the right. Still staring you down.
And she looks over at the other boy and chucks the rock at him.
Okay, you look and you turn to chuck that rock and you feel something hit you. It's the boy that you were backing off. He runs in, just tries to tackle you up against that wall.
And she has now lost the rock and she starts to panic and starts to flail as she tries to hit him, but it doesn't seem to phase him all that much as she's not really focused on what's happening. She's just reacting. And she's not skilled enough to know how to get somebody to back off of you.
So the first boy slams you hard up against this wall. It's a wall of dirt and stone, but it hurts. It hurts. You know that you hit the other one with the rock, but you're not sure where he's at. This one is trying to grapple you, trying to take you down on the ground.
And she starts to kick at his knees, trying to get him to stumble as well. Maybe that'll help get his grasp off of her.
Okay. Struggle with him for a little bit. You do manage to roll him off of you, just in time to see that the other girl has engaged with the boy that you threw the rock at. She took advantage of the opportunity and is fighting with him. But the one in front of you is still coming at you. He takes a swing at you.
And as she's distracted by looking over at this other girl and the boy fighting each other, it catches purchase right on her cheekbone, and she stumbles back. And she looks absolutely terrified, but there's a hint of fury in there as she then gathers herself, tries to ignore the pain, goes low, and tries to tackle this boy as well.
When he hits you, you see a sigh of relief in his face. He chuckles a little bit just before you dip down and tackle him to the ground with a oh. He hits hard on the ground.
And she is now on top of him and starts to just try and punch the crap out of his face and tries to hold his face down in the dirt.
Okay. As this is going on, you realize there's still two others here. There's still two others.
And she whips her head around to try and see where they are and see if they were able to take one or the other out.
It looks like this girl is struggling with the other boy. They're wrestling around on the ground. It looks like he's got her pretty much in a headlock.
All right. She looks down at the boy that she currently tackled and tries to assess whether or not he's going to try and keep fighting or if he's given up.
You know, he looks dazed. He's a bloody mess right now. You've pretty much turned his face into pulp. So
All right. So she gets up and she slowly saunters over to this other pair that are fighting and tries to grab the boy's leg to bring him down.
okay, so you grab the boy's leg and start pulling on him to take him off of the other girl.
Mm-hmm.
She looks at you for a minute, and then goes to try and hit him. And she actually does. As you're pulling him, she clocks him in the head. It doesn't seem to do a lot to him. As he kind of turns around trying to get you off of him and starts kicking at your hands.
Paradox kind of stands up and tries to meet his gaze as she tries to grab his arm and try and wrestle him away from this girl.
Okay. You manage to get to him. As you are wrestling him away to, I imagine, try and take him down yourself.
Yeah.
Okay. This girl kicks you square in the chest.
And she kind of looks up at her and looks kind of hurt for a moment, knowing that she was trying to help out her friend, her fellow. I mean, not a friend, but just trying to help out a fellow teenage girl. That kind of camaraderie. And she looks over at this boy who is still standing at this point and just kind of flips off this other girl and goes after him.
He hits you hard in the face.
That kind of stuns Paradox as she falls to the floor and hits her head against the stone ground. And it kind of dazes her for a second, as a blow to the head is never good. And she's kind of like writhing around on the ground, just wincing and trying to get her bearings back.
You hear a deep voice. Who's gonna win? Just two left. Are you a winner or are you a loser?
Paradox kind of looks up as she's still on the ground and kind of upside down. She sees this teacher, Sid. He is standing there kind of with his arms crossed as he like kind of gives her a stern look and motions for her to get up. And Paradox musters all her strength and she makes her way up again and tries to tackle the boy once again to the ground.
And as you're going after this young boy, you hear Sid continues to talk to you, to all of you. There's nothing in this life for free. You either win and come out on top, or you end up in the sand. You will take down your opponent. You will overcome them. You will defeat them. Because you have to.
And with that speech, Paradox kind of finds her strength and takes a swing at this boy, trying to do the same thing that he did to her, knocking him in the dirt.
Okay. And you're doing pretty well against this boy. And from the corner of your eye, you see the girl. She finds the rock that you found earlier. You see her pick up the rock. And she starts coming at you.
And in an adrenaline haze, Paradox just gets up and tries to basically roundhouse kick this girl, the rock out of the girl's hand.
You miss. And she comes in close to you. Looks like she's ready to swing this rock, and she is aiming right for your head. She's going to take you down.
Paradox ducks and uses the opportunity to wrap her arms around this girl's waist and try to tackle her to the ground.
You get her down, but she's fighting you off. She's kicking at you. She still has the rock. She's trying to get to a point where she can hit you with it.
And Paradox basically pins down that arm and takes the rock out of her hand.
When you focus, when you focus on that hand, on that arm, she clocks you with the other one.
And as that happens, she kind of winces back, but she's full of adrenaline, and she focuses in on that rock and takes it out of her hand and starts slamming it into her face.
For a moment, oddly enough, that feels really good. All that's there is you and your enemy. And you are overcoming them. You're defeating them. You're the one with the power. Then you feel strong hands grab you by the shoulders and yank you up into the air. And then, go ahead.
Still full of adrenaline and rage, this overwhelming sense of rage and power comes over her, and she starts to swing at whoever's trying to grab her.
It's you're yanked up into the air. You know that it's Sid. You know that it's Sid. But you just want to get free. You just want to be free. Remember something that your mother had said to you long ago. You remember, what did the girl say? What did she say about the bastards?
She closes her eyes for a minute and says, "Don't let the bastards get you down." And she says this out loud.
Just then again, everything seems to shift. And you're back in the box. It's dark. You're back in the cabinet. You still hear the noises going on. You smell smoke. Fire. You've locked yourself in the box. You did what your mother told you to do. It's hot. It's dark.
And she kind of puts her hand against the metal of the box and has this almost overwhelming sense of what she did to that girl. And she remembers the people that she saw as she ran through the camp in similar condition. And she starts to hyperventilate and starts to panic as she comes to the realization that she killed that girl.
For a moment, you see another face. You see a man in a suit. And you see yourself just ripping into him. Just completely with no compassion. You don't know why. All you know is that he has to die. You have to defeat him. And you're just ripping into him. Then the cold feeling comes back. You're in a box, but it's not the box you thought you were in. You see glass as you open your eyes. It's kind of frosty looking glass.
She kind of shakes herself and sees the glass and puts her hand against it
Very
and tries
cold.
to push.
Very cold to the touch.
She kind of backs her hand away again, feeling that coldness on her skin. And then that rage comes back and she tries to push open the door, or whatever it is, push against the glass.
You push against that glass for a moment, and it is really, really cold, but you force yourself. You push against it, and it doesn't budge. It doesn't budge at all. Slowly your senses are coming back to you. You're getting your vision, you kind of can see around the room, and you hear this suddenly the glass gives. Almost to the point where you had so much pressure against it that it kind of startles you.
And with that, even though she's startled, she kind of follows that momentum and tumbles out of this thing and kind of hits herself against the floor and something metal. She rams her head into on accident and kind of winces and holds her head as she tries to figure out what's going on.
Cold steel. Everything around you, it's dark, but there's little lights. There's lights and there's noises like machines running.
And she takes a deep breath. As the cold air fills her lungs, she kind of winces a little bit, but it also oddly feels kind of good to finally take that deep breath. And she really starts to focus in and tries to look around the room and see either where she is or, more importantly, if there's an exit somewhere.
The room you're in is strangely circular. There's a couple of these tubes that you came out of. You look at it as this large machine. There's a couple of them in here. There's a hallway that leads back to your left. There's a door just to the right of that, which has more of that frosted glass. And then there's a door behind you as you're looking around. It's very dark, but you can make those out. The door behind you is a solid door. No windows, no nothing. There's one little light up above it, and it's red.
She tries to stand, but her legs are kind of wobbly. It's almost like she's walking on them for the first time. A little bit like she still has sea legs. And she stumbles forward and takes a look into one of the tubes and sees a familiar face. It looks like her old self.
Looks
And
like
she
you.
kind of, yeah. And she kind of leans in to take a better look.
As you do that, you feel like you're pulled back for a moment. You're not like physically. There's nothing touching you. You're pulled back for a moment. And you get this thought. There's something you have to do. Something you have to do now. Someone needs you. You glance around and you see a set of keys laying on the table. You grab those keys. And the door that's behind you, that red light turns green. And the door opens.
And keys in hand, she kind of looks back at this person that looks like her, puts either hand on the side of the glass and puts her forehead against the glass and says to the person in the tube, who is definitely not going to respond, and just says, "Don't let the bastards keep you down." And then she kind of looks longingly at her old self and then just starts to walk out of this very cold room and into the next.
This whole place seems vaguely familiar, but you just don't recall. It's like it's right there on the edge, but you just don't recall, and you're walking through this room with purpose. You know, as you're walking, you know exactly where you have to go. There's a garage. There's an elevator. You have to go to the elevator, and there's a garage. And as you're walking through this room, there's this room on the other side of this door that it's got couches and things in here. And there's another door off to your right that opens up, and this bald man comes through the door. Oh, wow. Hey, are you all right?
I started blasting. Bang, bang. Well, I don't see so good, so I missed.
And without hesitation, she just takes one look at him and decks him right in the face.
And from there you continue on to vehicle, or you've just knocked this guy out cold. No idea who he was.
Yeah, and as she gets to the kitchen, she looks down at herself and realizes that she has no clothes on. She's like, well, that probably won't do. And in her memory, that same feeling of like remembering where you are but not exactly knowing where you are, as she heads up to her room and opens the door and goes to the closet.
In the closet, you see different clothing. It's very strange. It seems like it's familiar. You're not really sure why you came to this room, but for whatever reason, you were able to get into this room like you belonged here.
And she kind of just looks around for a minute, sees some of the trinkets and some stickers on the wall, and she walks over and touches them and has this overwhelming sense of fear and love and longing for a different time. And then she kind of nods to herself and goes back to the closet and picks out a jumpsuit and a helmet and heads down to the garage.
There's a message that comes across to you. It's kind of odd because it's like there's a voice. We must hurry, Paradox. the others are in trouble.
And with that, she finally gets down to the garage and sees this bright lime green truck and takes the keys and hits the lock button, and it beeps. And she kind of smiles to herself and then opens up the car, takes a seat, and rubs her hands along the steering wheel and kind of nods to herself in appreciation, and then puts the helmet on and starts the car.
All right. Unfortunately, we ran through that pretty quickly. But that actually is a lead up into, I believe, episode 15 that we had.
Yep.
So part 1 for Paradox. That brings us to completion to the story. Is there anything else that you would like to do, Paradox, to talk a little bit about your character?
Yeah. I mean, now you know that there's a reason why she's crazy and why she kind of acts like a child. It's probably one, she's kind of stuck in that mindset, but also it's probably a defense mechanism as well for all the trauma that she's experienced. I think as we go forward, you'll probably see a bit more lucidity from her and a bit more strategic, tactical thinking, which is very unparadox like. But she'll never lose that goofy weirdness. She'll still be obsessed with stickers, probably for good reason, but
Oh yeah,
yes.
it's very interesting piece. Obviously, we put this piece of the story for Paradox together with just some snippets revolving around the time that she spent where the team thought she was dead, and what had happened there, just kind of in her own head, the memories piece from her consciousness being downloaded from one body into a new body.
Yeah.
And these were the memories that she went through, just kind of, floating through her mind.
Yeah. And there will definitely be more, and there's more to the story.
Yes. So it will, the next one, we'll see where that lands us at. Really depends on where the story goes. But unfortunately, that only ran us about an hour. So
I know.
we burned
You
through
kept
that.
warning me last night. You were like, or the other day, you were like, we only have an hour and a half.
Yeah, my bad. I ran way too quickly through that. That's okay though.
Yep.
We got to get that piece of the story out, and there's plenty more content that we can use. Hopefully everybody enjoyed this little 1 hour episode, not quite an hour, for Paradox's essentially origin story, but really what we're just trying to get a start on this character because there's a lot to tell with her. And right now she is kind of a key character in the overall storyline. So good stuff. Thank you very much. If you don't have anything more, I guess that is it for this evening.
Yeah.
We'll be back to our regularly scheduled programming starting Wednesday with the update log. Everybody, just an FYI for everybody, we have our first guest appearance, or our first special guest on the update log this coming Wednesday. Old Man Garrus will be joining us, and we'll be talking quite a bit about the, absolutely. We'll be talking quite a bit about the other side of the counter when it comes to the gaming industry, that retail piece and what that looks like, and really kind of listening to Garrus's experiences there, which he's a gentleman who has a wealth of them to share. So good stuff. And then Friday we will roll back into episode 19, I believe, of the BOR.
Yep.
And tell the next piece of that story and where it's going, which is really kind of up in the air right now. So we'll see where the team lands and what actually happens with the BOR. Awesome stuff. Thank you very much for being here this evening, Paradox. And thank you all the audience tonight for setting through our story and participating.
Yeah.
With that,
thank you so much.
I'm going to take a look and see who we can raid into tonight. Looks like Stormy is on, so we'll hit Stormy. He's raided into us before, so we'll go ahead and raid into Stormy D. Please do check out Stormy's stream. He does a lot of various things. He does some gameplay, also does a D&D stream, and he also does a talk show with Druid IRL. So check him out, please. Show him some love, and we will see you on Wednesday night.